How did your crazy ex become your crazy ex? After I broke up with her, she used makeup to feign bruising on her arms, neck, and face. She then proceeded to send pictures of it to all of our mutual friends, warning them about me. I suspect she was crazy long before I knew her, but I realized she was a lying sociopath when she asked me to euthanize my dog because he was taking up too much of our time. Put an ad in the paper. Became a prostitute. Brought clients to our family home. We had kids. Ever had a girlfriend threaten to cut her wrists because your The Sims character is dating the computer generated neighbor? I did. She woke me up because I had the night sweats and she was convinced I had AIDS. For some reason I decided to appease her and got a full STD screen including an expensive AIDS test. A few weeks later I drove to her house to give her my signed note I had to specifically request, stating my clean bill of health. She accused me of forging the entire thing and in the following argument pulled plates out of the cupboard and frisbeed them at me. I left immediately. About 6 months later, I had just started dating my now fiancé. She contacted me to tell me she believed me and wanted to know if she and her 2 dogs could move in with me. I never responded. Painted my name all over his bedroom, bathroom and lounge room. Proposed and then photoshopped us into wedding pictures. Sent invites all his family. Mine and my friends. Got an ultrasound photo online and tried to announce to Facebook we were expecting a baby. Shaved our initials into his cat and left hundreds of love letters taped to my car, so that was crazy. We went on half a double date with friends. I was just being a good sport. Opted out when he proposed when my food came. The rest came over the next week. Edit to clarify as I feel I wasn't clear. This was all after the one and only date. All I can think about is how much it must suck to be that dude's cat. She tried to draw my blood out while I was asleep to put in a vial she wore around her neck. Would start arguments out of thin air because I'm drama. This is who I am. Then one day, I went drinking in her hometown. She ran into her ex. A day later she said, "Sorry, but I'm going to start dating him again." 2 days after that, she was begging to get back together. Nope. Messaged me occasionally for a few years to go out for a drink. But eventually stopped when she got knocked up. Good luck to the guy who knocked her up. In addition to being an absolute gem of a personality, she had awful genetics and family. I'm drama. This is who I am. At least she is honest. Most alike. I hate drama. But somehow there is always drama around their lives. He tried to strangle me with an HDMI cord because I didn't straighten my hair that day. He had been crazy for a while, but that's the very moment where I realized it. Use a DSUB, VGA, cable on him. More wires in there. It's stronger. Walked miles in the snow to my house. Tapped on my bedroom window for an hour until I acknowledged him. I turned him away. In the morning I heard rustling in my closet upon waking up. The littler snuck into my house somehow and was hiding in my closet. I threatened to call the cops, so he left. Weeks later, he emailed me pictures of me sleeping from that night. I still have nightmares about finding him in a closet. Was supposed to be medicated and never told me. Didn't matter since she stopped taking her meds before we dated. Tried to make up for it by taking many different recreational drugs that she failed to mention as well. Found her drug kit and noped out. Her mother said, and I quote, "I'm surprised you made it as long as you did." Killed the dog that my dead spouse gave to me. What a. Also, please tell me you went on an epic killing rampage like John Wick. My husband's crazy ex, just girlfriend from high school, was crazy because she set up appointments for portrait session to have pictures done of our 3 children for her house. No. He did not let that fruitcake take our children. They broke up their senior year of high school. And this is when we were in our 30s. Shocked at contact from her. Never mind the apt. We found out she also had her phone number listed, phone books then, as MRS. our surname all those years. Which was never her name. She was stuck in her high school fantasy. Which was frightening. Beat the crap out of me. Then out of his next GF and their kids. He lied about his police record and previous conviction from beating me. He is charming and manipulative, so I get why she believed him. He got out of prison recently for what he did, and I'm just glad I'm across the country. He started messaging all the new guys he thought I would maybe go out with, asking them not to invite me out cause he felt he still had a chance with me. This happened not once or twice. This happened with around 10 guys. He didn't even know them in person. I didn't even know them. He didn't even know them in person. I didn't even know them. So, did he just dial in random phone numbers? You know. Like. Yo. Strange. I'm head over heels in love with Buneonda 1. Don't mess with my chances. Bitch. She cut out my head from yearbooks and put them on corkboards on her headboard. I found out because one of her friends told me she did. And so I wanted to see for myself. She was working during the day. And I was close with her brother, who let me in when I said I needed to grab something from her BR. I walked in and, sure enough, my head on a bunch of muscular bodies that weren't mine. I broke up with her the next day after seeing the Hey Arnold-esque shrine. Following the breakup, she would drive on my street and stop and wait outside and see if my light was on. It wasn't. Mainly because I knew she would do that. Then she would call me and leave voicemails of her breathing rather heavily. She then tried to get me jealous of her having another guy, which I was everything but jealous of. And she actually had sex with and got pregnant with said guy, which kind of backfired on her. So, happy ending, I guess. She tried to drown herself in a river in the middle of December because she thought I wanted to sleep with someone else. I had to wait out and get her. This was after she spiked my phone on the ground when I received a text message from a friend saying my then girlfriend had left her purse at the bar. On a separate occasion, she grabbed her car keys from me after drinking heavily, and when I tried to stop her from driving she almost ran me over. Yeah. She was nuts. Murdered my pet cat and left the corpse in my sock drawer. Was pregnant with another guy's baby. I found out when she lost it during a heroin overdose. That was when I learned that she was pregnant and did heroin. Edit. Most upvoted comment. Still. You Amanda. Genetics. Both of her parents were bat crazy. So I shouldn't have been surprised when she started stalking me after she cheated on me and I dumped her. She threatened a few of my, and by extension our, female friends with physical violence just for being around me and tried to get me fired from my job. She called my manager and told him that I was on drugs, nothing further from the truth, and had two of her other friends come into my store and be extremely angry customers saying I'd felt them up or some damn thing. Fortunately my boss knew all about what was going on and didn't buy any of it. You can tell a lot about a girl from her family. My ex's parents were high school sweethearts. Except only the mom was a sophomore and he was 27. Yay. When he got himself locked in 4-point restraints in the ER because he was convinced he had AIDS and started trying to infect the staff. Or when he proudly told me he was the son of Jesus Christ. Or when he tried to kick in my door at 3:00 AM as a grand romantic gesture. Or how he thought his bald spot would grow hair again if he was just a better person. I noticed my underthings were going missing. I mentioned it while doing the laundry. He accused me of cheating, saying I must have left my things at some dude's house I was cheating with and began beating me for the missing items. I was pregnant with his child at the time. I kick him out. Scared less how I was going to support myself while I was about to give birth and miss work for 6 weeks. I began packing his things to keep my frightened mind busy. Find a big box hidden in the basement full of my missing underthings. Huge inflatable butt plugs. And Transil PRN. My thigh highs were tied in knots with ball hairs sticking out of them. I put in a videotape labeled with my name. It's him dressed as me with my clothing on. beating off and eyeing his ass to the idea of being me. His nuts tied up with my stockings. Turns out he was a secret cross-dresser trans with a violent history and multiple drug charges. Lied about everything. From his education to his orientation. I don't trust human beings anymore. Didn't believe dinosaurs existed. Diet Coke and pregnancy tests. Man. Diet Coke and pregnancy tests. Apparently this can cause a pregnancy test to show positive. Well, that's terrifying. I wanna say we were both each other's crazy exes. He cheated on me. Begged me not to break up with him. Then repetitively threatened and even attempted once to kill himself after I broke up with him. And then of course me. Being really upset about being cheated on. I returned his shirts and hoodies he had given to me. In shreds. To shreds you say? She tried to cut my beard off. And when I resisted, the next option was to castrate me. He cheated and I was stupid and forgave him. 2 months later I was served with an eviction notice because he had lied to my face about having paid rent. I told him I would give him a chance to work on himself. But I needed space and would find somewhere apart from him 2 months later when the lease was up. He threatened suicide 3 times. Called me drunk multiple times. Switched between "you're the best ever, I love you" and "can't live without you" and "you're the worst person ever." Dial alone from voicemail to voicemail. By then I had told him that we were definitely over, but the final nail in the coffin for him was when he drove to my new house drunk to call me names and tried to pull me out of my house when I told him to leave or I was calling the police, and went to go back into my house. Psychotic and emotionally abusive crazy will always be psychotic and emotionally abusive crazy. First he was just my ex. Then he threatened to post some risque pics of me online and or kill himself. As if that would make me want him back. Yeah, he should have threatened to flood your Facebook with pics of Nicolas Cage. The crazy bitch literally made me choose between her and my mother and sister. She couldn't handle other women in my life. It went beyond just not liking me being around them. She would go to crazy far lengths to get me away from any female in the vicinity. She never did that until a month or 2 before we broke up. Glad I did that. 800 plus missed calls and 5,000 messages after I broke it off after 2. Well, my friend introduced us because we were both taking time off uni for mental illness. So we're probably both each other's crazy ex. That said, he has a habit of dating girls he meets in the psych ward. So I doubt I'm his craziest, at least. Y'all in some messed up relationships. Lord help these children. Threatened to kill herself in more than several occasions. More than once. She attempted to commit suicide by OD as I was on a phone call with her. Accused me of cheating the day after I broke up with her. Then arrived at my apartment and proceeded to strangle me and punch my face. The whole relationship put me in a deep depression that I'm still trying to cope with. He literally stopped talking to me after I told him I was ARPed. No breakup. Just silence. Told me just because you're ex-ARPed doesn't mean you can turn down sex whenever you want. A little late to the party. But take your pick. She faked a pregnancy. Sonograms and all. She told me her mom died and stepdad kicked her out so she could move into my parents' house. Her mom was very much alive. She gifted me a car from her grandmother's inheritance. But turned out to be a stolen car. She test drove a car and never brought it back. She altered her voice so she could conduct a phone interview on me. She pretended she had cancer and shaved her head so I would be sympathetic and not break up with her. She got me a job as a writer for some magazine I never heard of and I even collected paychecks. But the money was from her stepfather's bank account with forged signatures. I was sending crappy poetry pieces to some random fax machine. Which I was told was my publisher. I could go on. But it's late and I doubt anyone will even read these. For the adventurous that do get this far. It's amazing what good and frequent BJs do to a man's psyche. She had her friend go through my Reddit account and then send me hateful messages about how terrible of a human being I was. More than 2 years later, she took me to see a college play and then broke up with me because I was looking at the actress on stage. Violent physical assaults followed up with I was blacked out, so how do I know that even happened? Asking me who I was trying to look good for when I would wear makeup. Sticking his hands down my pants after coming home from class and accusing me of being wetter than I should be. Telling me he'd put a gun to my head and pull the trigger if I ever cheated on him. Then accusing me of cheating on him with like 9 different people on a near constant basis. You know. Standard abusive relationship stuff. Started dating my friend and then tried to repay her. All the while touting what a great Christian he is. She made me choose between my continued friendship with best friend who she called a fat volleyball bitch and her. I chose my best friend. She also made me choose between weed and her. I chose weed. 10 years later she still sends me messages every 6 months saying how she has never loved anyone as much as me. We dated in college for 3 months and she is now living in Canada with her husband. We were in a long distance relationship. She asked me to be her boyfriend after making a scene in the middle of the metro where I literally ended crying. I accepted like a dumbass because I thought she was going to change. She returned to her city the next day and ended cheating with me the next week with her ex-boyfriend. Then when I tried to cut off any contact, she tried to take down my YouTube channel. I make music and she did the art of some of the videos. So she tried to take down my channel for copyright infringement. Then when none of that worked, she tried to kill herself drinking a cleansing alcohol bottle. She turned into a crack. That's the accurate descriptive term, not a maladaptive slur. I realized after it was over that the relationship was abusive. But I didn't realize it at the time because he never hit me and I always thought abusive equals physical. Said he would find it humorous in a way if I died. Also was known for saying, I don't have a god complex. It's called a messiah complex. Messiah. Long distance relationship. I live in Canada and he was in USA. A few months after I broke up with him, he literally showed up at my front door. Damn. You're that fabled Canadian girlfriend I keep hearing about. But I would walk 500 miles and I would walk 500 more just to be the man who walked 1,000 miles to fall down at your door. She told me she was ashamed of my part German heritage and that I had to self-identify as English or Northern Irish, the other 2 main parts of my heritage. Ignored me for 3 days because I wasn't interested in his idea of taking self-defense classes to protect myself from being upheld by Muslims. He told me my life choices determined if he lived or not. Either I stay with him and everything is great or I go off to college and break up with him, subsequently leading to him offing himself. I knew it was a bluff, so I got the hell out of that relationship as soon as I could and told all his friends to watch out for him. Without describing why. She was my crazy girlfriend. Beat the out of me. Then told all of my friends that I was abusive. Told my boss that I should be fired. Shall I continue? I am very certain he was sleeping with his mother. When confronted about it, he did not argue. He is 27 and as far as I know still lives in a 1BR with her to this day. Despite making enough money to live on his own. I am very certain he was sleeping with his mother. When confronted about it, he did not argue. He is 27 and as far as I know still lives in a 1BR with her to this day. Despite making enough money to live on his own. Asterisk. Look. I'm not judging or anything, but what you're saying here is exactly the kind of thing a crazy ex would say. Leaving for work at 4 AM and finding her passed out drunk blocking my sliding glass door wearing her wedding dress from her first wedding that no longer fit. As I open the door she rolls over. Smiles through her now Joker-like makeup and slurs. Hey. You. Let's go get married. I put her in the bathtub and went to work. Post breakup. He wrote fan fiction about the 2 of us getting back together and murdering my parents. She She tried to my underage sister. She was psycho. Mine developed thyroid cancer. She had it removed. But the accompanying mental anguish drove her mild OCD into overdrive. To the point where I couldn't touch her unless she watched me wash my hands. She treated me like crap. Anyway. But the OCD put the nails in the coffin. Admitted that she pushed me into having a kid before I wanted to so that she'd have someone to take care of her financially. I'd say right when I found a picture of him with his fiancée and newborn baby. Picture was clearly recent. Told me he went to a therapist who described him as having sociopathic tendencies. Spoiler alert. He did not give up about me. They turned into a gigolo. He told me he was in love with me 2 weeks after we met. When I wouldn't say it back. He flipped and skipped town for 4 days. And didn't talk to me once. After a month of dating. One morning he asked me what I was doing. And I told him I was going to spend a day at the beach with a friend. He responded with, "Talk to me when you have time for me." She started hitting me over time. Fractured my rib. Held me hostage for a while. Tried to throw herself out of my car on the freeway and threatened to kill herself if I left her. After we broke up, she found she had a brain tumor that was driving her crazy. It was removed and she's fine now, but we had already parted ways and moved on. I never refer to her as the crazy ex. Just my ex. And friend. Things were hard for both of us and we were not compatible. And the cancer may or may not have been responsible, we'll never know. It did, however, give me a special appreciation for battered men though, and a small interest in men's rights. I had nowhere to go and nobody cared or believed me. She kicked me in the mouth during sex. During sex. Doesn't matter. Had sex. Saw me at the Moonooch concert. We were going to go to together, but we broke up about a month prior. I was there with another girl. She was there with another boy. Took my girl home, put her butt to sleep and checked my Facebook. My ex had messaged me throughout the show asking why I hadn't said hi, etc, etc. It gradually got more aggressive until she explained. Dusty wears magnums. Dusty is the guy she went with. A few weeks later she said I should get STD test because Dusty apparently had herpes. Apparently he doesn't always wear magnums. A few weeks later she continued to email me asking if she could get some sweet. That was our nickname for me being balls deep in her. I have never felt so abused by commas. Gay here. Left me to start a family with his lesbian friends from high school while cheating on me in my home's bed, as in I owned the house he was cheating on me in. Also, nearly bankrupted me, demanding I pay him for half of every item we ever bought together in the year he stayed with me.